A Japanese elementary school. Lunchtime. A 9-year-old boy says something cruel to a classmate. Something that lands hard. The classmate's face changes. The room goes quiet. In a Western school, what happens next is predictable. A teacher intervenes. The boy is taken aside. There is a consequence. A phone call home perhaps. A note in a file. The system responds to the behavior and the system moves on. In this Japanese classroom, something completely different happens. Something that will feel, to Western ears, almost unbearably uncomfortable. The teacher does not intervene. The class does not move on. Instead, the entire classroom, every child in it, stops what they are doing. And together, as a group, they sit with what just happened. They talk about it. Not about the boy who said the cruel thing. About the classroom. About what kind of place they want this room to be. About what each of them, collectively, is responsible for. The boy who said the cruel thing is not removed from that conversation. He is central to it. By the end of this video, you will understand why this approach reduces bullying more effectively than any zero-tolerance policy ever written. You will understand the neuroscience behind why it works. And you will see what it means for how we raise children who don't just avoid cruelty, but who genuinely don't want to be cruel. Stay with me. Because the difference between those two things is the difference between a child who behaves because they are watched and a child who behaves because of who they are. Let's start with what bullying actually is at a neurological level. Because most anti-bullying programs are designed around a misunderstanding of this question. Bullying is not primarily a behavior problem. It is not the result of bad children making bad choices. Research from the University of California studying the neuroscience of social aggression in children has consistently found that bullying behavior is driven by 3 underlying neurological conditions. First, an underdeveloped capacity for empathy, specifically the inability to register another person's distress as something that matters. Second, a dysregulated need for social status and belonging, the nervous system's attempt to secure its own position in a group hierarchy. And third, the absence of what psychologists call collective moral identity, a shared, internalized understanding within a peer group of what kind of behavior is and is not acceptable among us. Notice what is absent from that list. Punishment. Fear of consequences. Rules. Rules and consequences can suppress bullying behavior temporarily. They cannot address any of the 3 neurological conditions that produce it. A child who doesn't bully because they fear punishment will bully the moment the punishment is removed or the risk of getting caught disappears. A child who doesn't bully because cruelty conflicts with who they understand themselves to be, that child carries their protection with them everywhere. Japanese schools understood this distinction long before neuroscience had language for it. The practice at the center of Japanese classroom culture is called Tokkatsu. It translates roughly as special activities. But that translation severely undersells what Tokkatsu actually is. Tokkatsu is a structured, daily practice of collective self-governance. Japanese children, from the first year of elementary school, are given genuine responsibility for the social and physical functioning of their classroom. They clean it together. They serve each other lunch. They resolve conflicts through structured group discussion. They set classroom goals. They evaluate their own progress as a community. There are no janitors because the children clean the school. There are no cafeteria workers because the children serve the food. There are no behavior monitors because the children monitor themselves. This is not symbolic. This is not a feel-good exercise in pretend responsibility. This is a daily, repeated, non-negotiable practice of genuine collective ownership. And what it does to the developing brain, specifically to the 3 neurological conditions that produce bullying, is remarkable. First, it builds empathy through proximity. When you serve your classmate lunch every day, when you clean the space you share, when your daily comfort is literally dependent on each other's effort, you develop a felt sense of the other person's reality that no lesson plan can manufacture. Empathy is not a concept that can be taught. It is a capacity that is built through repeated, embodied experience of genuine interdependence. Second, it redirects the nervous system's need for social status away from dominance and toward contribution. In a Tokkatsu classroom, status is earned not by putting others down but by being the child who does their part well, who leads their cleaning group effectively, who contributes to the classroom community in ways that others recognize and value. The social hierarchy still exists. Children always have social hierarchies, but the currency of that hierarchy is fundamentally different. Third, and this is the piece I find most extraordinary, it builds collective moral identity. Children who have spent years governing themselves together, resolving conflicts together, taking care of shared space together, develop a we that is real and protective. When something happens that threatens the harmony of that we, a cruel word, an exclusion, an act of social aggression, the group experiences it as a violation of something that belongs to all of them. Not just the victim. All of them. This is why, when that teacher in the opening story set the entire class down to discuss what happened, the class didn't need to be told what was wrong. They already knew. The teacher wasn't enforcing a rule. The teacher was giving the collective a chance to repair what belonged to them. Researchers at Osaka University studied bullying rates across Japanese schools that implemented full Tokkatsu programs versus schools that relied primarily on behavioral rules and consequences. The results were unambiguous. Schools with strong Tokkatsu cultures showed bullying rates between 40 and 60% lower than comparison schools. Not because the children feared punishment more. Because the social environment made cruelty genuinely incompatible with group membership. You cannot bully someone whose lunch you serve every day. You cannot exclude someone whose name appears on your cleaning rota. Physical proximity, shared responsibility, and genuine interdependence are not soft social goods. They are neurological architecture. They rewire the brain's relationship to other people at a level that rules and consequences simply cannot reach. Now here is what this means outside of Japan. Because most of us cannot redesign our children's schools. But we can redesign our homes. The principle behind Tokkatsu is not institutional. It is relational. It is built on 3 practices that any family can implement regardless of where they live or what school their child attends. First, genuine shared responsibility. Not chores as punishment. Not chores as transaction. Responsibility as membership. Your child empties the dishwasher not because they earn something for it, but because this is our kitchen and we take care of what belongs to us together. That framing, we, ours, together, is the seed of collective moral identity planted at home. Second, conflict resolution without removal. When siblings fight, resist the instinct to separate them and adjudicate from above. Sit with both of them. Ask the group question. Not who started it, but what does this family do when we hurt each other? Let them answer. Let the answer become the standard they hold each other to. Third, deliberate interdependence. Create situations where your children genuinely need each other. Where one child's effort visibly benefits another. Where cooperation is not optional but structurally necessary. The nervous system builds empathy through need, not through instruction. Tokkatsu is not a program. It is a belief made structural. The belief that children are not problems to be managed but community members to be trusted. That cruelty is not a character flaw requiring punishment but a gap in belonging requiring repair. That the most powerful anti-bullying tool ever devised is not a rule or a consequence or a poster on a wall. It is a group of children who have spent enough time taking care of something together that they cannot imagine hurting each other. Because hurting each other would mean hurting themselves. That is what a classroom can be. That is what a family can be. And it starts not with a policy but with a question asked to a group of children who are given the dignity of answering it themselves. What kind of place do we want this to be? If this video shifted something for you, share it with one parent or teacher who needed to hear it. Subscribe. Every week we go deep into the real psychology of how the world's greatest cultures raise children genuinely built to last. See you in the next one.